So today I want to talk about geomancy and houses in geomancy and the continent they represent. The continent, houses in geomancy and the continent they represent. In geomancy, for instance, we have house one, house two, house three, house four, and so on and so forth. House one is the house of the person asking question, while house two is the house of what finance, money, and so on and so forth. While house three is house of your siblings, house four is house of your family, and so on and so forth. So those are the general traditional ways of understanding geomancy. You have to understand each house before you can interpret the divination, the divine signs. Likewise, each of these houses as well, these geomancy houses also represent what has a continent they represent. Each house has a continent they represent, which is what I want to discuss in this video. The continent, the heads, understand? So now the continent that a house represents matters or is good for us to understand, because sometimes we can have a question whereby somebody is trying to understand that which place should he or she travel to. Maybe somebody want to travel to a place and that person is clueless, or that person doesn't know where to travel to. So you now want to seek divine guidance, that should he travel to Asian country, Europe country, or African, American, North American, etc. The person is just looking for which continent can he or she travel to. So that is one of the advantages of this particular video that I'm watching, this particular knowledge, especially this continent as a thing. Although there are different when it comes to Eastern geomancy, there are different ways of finding this answer. Instead of you going through the continental aspect, you can also use compass direction. That is, should you go to the south, or should you go to the east, or should you go to the north or east, blah blah blah. There are different methods, but this particular method center on continent. That is, you are trying to know that which continent should you travel to for betterment or for whatever reason that you might want to travel for. So that is what this particular video want to expatiate. Now, I hope you understand. And for you to be able to understand this very well, that means you already know how to cast a geometry chart. You already know how to cast a geometry chart, and probably you know how to do some little interpretation, because this is not to show you how to cast a chart, blah blah blah, but just to explain some of the houses in geometry that talks about all this house in all this continent, so that when you have a question like that, you can know how to address it. And the way to do this, you also need to understand how to bring out domero, because domero is the one that will tell us the final answer in case you want to use it for a divinational sake. But this is not for, I'm not talking about the divination aspect of it. I just want to point out the houses. I just want to point out what the houses and the continent they represent. That is the primary purpose of this video. The houses and the continent they represent. That is the purpose of this video. So I talked about Domiro earlier, because sometimes you want to practically use it. You understand? Domiro will then tell you which one should you go. But before we talk about Domiro, first of all, you need to first of all understand the house and the continent. Just like house two. House two is house of finance, while house one is house of the person asking question. So now, these are not part of the thing you can easily read in a book, or except you meet sheikhs. Do you know what I mean by sheikh? Or all those elderly person? Those are the person that can easily show you tell you this. Now, to go straight to the point, so that we don't deviate too much. I hope you have gotten the primary purpose of this video, so that you won't be asking me unnecessary question. Now, which house represent Asian countries? Asia country is represented with house 9. This particular Asia country. So is house 9 represent Asia countries. Why house 9 as well also represent Europe country. House 9 is also represent house country, which means that house 9 of geometry chart is both an Asia country, represent Asia countries, while Europe in house 9 of geometry also represent Europeans countries. So these two are. Now, what about Africa? Africa represent house 9 is also house of our African country as well. But not only house 9 that talked about African country, both house 9 and house 10 talks about what Africans war country. So if you are talking about African country, you can check it in house 9, you can also check it what in our house 10. So house 9 and house 10 talks about what African countries. Why we have North America and South Africa, North American continent, and we have what South American continent. House 6 represent what North America. House 6 represent what North America. Why house 12 represent sorry house 6 represent North America, sorry, yes, house 6 represent what North America, why this war house 4 represent South America. Let me repeat myself. House 6 represent North America, while house 4 represent South America. So now we now have Australian's continent. The Australian continent is represented with what house 4 as well. House 4 also represent what uh, Australia. House 4 is also for Australian continent. But not only house 4, we have house 4 and house 5. Both house 4 and house 5 represent what? Australian continent. So those are the houses that represent those are the houses on geometry that represent the continent. You understand? But the question then you might want to ask that, well, how do you then use all this? How does this always apply? Let me give you a clue. But those that will understand this particular clue, or that will understand it better, are those that understand Eastern geometry very well. But if you don't understand Eastern geometry and you understand Western geometry, by using your method of perversion, whatever method you know, you can also use it to get whatever you want. You understand? But this other one that I'm about to explain, the people that understand instant geometry will understand very well. So let's say somebody comes to you, maybe that person want to travel to somewhere and asks that, well, which continent, not country now, which continent should he or she travel to? Now, maybe you casted your chart, the middle now fall in house waiting, house 10. That means talking about African continent. Or maybe fall in house 9, that means talking about African continent. Because house 9 and house 10 talked about what? African continent. Maybe it fall in house 4, that means talking about Australian continent, because sorry, if it fall in house 4, it's talking about Australian continent. It's also talking about South America continent, because those two houses talk about what? House 4. House 4 is for South America and Australia is also for house 4. That means the querent then needs to choose anyone that will best fit his choice. You understand? Now, before you can be talking about it, know that your question must be centered on that, must be centered on that. Maybe you are not asking anything, you are not asking question related to continent or what can you travel to, which means that when you cast a geometry chart, all this doesn't matter. But it becomes matter when you are when your question is related to all those continent or where can you travel to. But now you might want to ask again that, well, let's say you maybe you are using Eastern method, because I told that, well, in Eastern method you just need to look for where the mirror fall into. If it fall in house 9, you talk about Asia. If it fall in house 9, you just talk about Europe, and so just like what I said. But the question now, as an Eastern geometer, you may ask that, well, what if it doesn't fall in any of those houses? What will happen if it doesn't fall in any of those houses? It means that what the chart is talking to you as a geometer, that what don't use continents to judge. You can then use what is it called, uh, compass judgment. That is, should you go to the east or not? That is what you don't use your method to do that, because sometimes the way you expect the geometry chart to talk, sometimes it will not talk that way, to talk another way. Maybe you are expecting your question is about continent, then geometry, the chart is deciding not to talk from the continental aspect. Maybe it's talking from another aspect. That's why as a geometer, you are supposed to have a versatile knowledge, because sometimes it is mostly in Western geometry that we force meaning into chart, that we are necessarily saying that, well, it must perfect, that there must be a perfection. If it is perfection, it is right. So that is Western method. But in Eastern method, there's not like forcing your meaning into a chart. You allow the chart to talk, then you flow with the energy of the chart. Taking for instance, maybe you are casting now. I want to tell you how to flow with the flow with the chart. That you are allowing the chart to guide you, not that you are allowing your mind to guide the chart. Now that is how it is being practiced in Eastern geometry. You allow the chart to say something, then you follow what the chart say. But mostly in Western geometry, it is the geometry that dictate that there must be a perfection. It must be this before I say yes. It must be this. No, that is that is Western method. But in Eastern method, you allow the chart to guide you, because like what I say now, sometimes you are expecting the, maybe you have casted the chart, you are not looking for the domi does not fall in any of these houses. Then what will happen? That means you have to change your method. You have to leave that this method of European something. Look for what the compass direction. That is, then you, if the compass dimension is not giving you the answer, if you know other method as well, you can also, because in Eastern geomancy, the method, the corridor are just so wide and kind of what unlimited. You understand? So, but I hope you have added this to your understanding now that we have what houses that represent their what the houses and their what the continent they represent, and they are helpful in guiding us to choose which continent do you want to travel to, which continent do you want to go. And I've explained the houses and their continent, that I said Asia represent house 9 and European also represent house 9 as well, while African represent house 9 and house 10. African is both house 9. You can use house 9 for African, you can also use house 10 for African. And I said that North America represent house 6, while South America represent house 4, while I said Australian represent house 4 and house 5. I hope this particular video helps somebody. I know somebody might probably need this. So thank you for watching the video. May God bless you miraculously.